This week on Culture Q, we share the latest in queer casting news.
The New York Times critic causes a lot of conversation.
And we talk to gay Mean Girls star Hannah Raine. What is going on? Is Anna Lawani here.
And I'm Cheryl Lazar. This is Culture Q.
And here's some of the top stories from this week in queer culture.
Hollywood is ringing and queer stars are answering the call. Let's get into this week's queer casting news. First off is Netflix's Sex Education. The show centers around Otis, the repressed son of a renowned sex therapist. He develops an unlikely friendship with Maeve, who helps him give out his own sex therapy to students at school for a cost. The show has been great at casting queer and diverse talent, and this latest announcement is no exception. Schitt's Creek star Dan Levy will be joining the cast. The star made the announcement on Instagram saying, "Sex Ed Season 4, very serious news." The Emmy winner will be playing a cult author at a prestigious university in the US that Maeve is now attending. I mean, he's kind of hot as a teacher, just saying. And of course, I think all of us can agree that we're excited to see him back in a series, finally. I mean, Schitt's Creek ended in 2020. Time flies by. This also comes after casting news that Sex Education fan fave Ncuti Gatwa, who plays Eric, would be the next Doctor on Doctor Who.
It's been emotional. Yeah. It's been emotional. I was just saying, I woke up crying and then I started dancing and then I was just like, it's just, but I'm glad that it's finally out and I don't have to keep the secret anymore because I'm terrible.
How long have you kept it secret for?
For
February.
Oh.
Which also makes Gatwa the first man of color ever to play the part in the series' nearly 50-year history. Jury's out on whether the character will also be queer, but it's still a big win on many accounts. Next up, let's talk about Ryan Murphy in the new season of American Horror Story. Murphy knows how to throw a queer parade, and he's brought out all the stars for season 11 of the beloved camp anthology. Get ready to see stars like Charlie Carver, who will be in a queer romance with Isaac Powell from season 10. Then we have Zachary Quinto, Billy Lord, and theater icon Patti LuPone. According to Collider, Sandra Berhard and Angels in America star Joe Mateo are also on board. So look out for that this fall on FX. And that's your queer casting news for the week.
In case you missed it, Bodies, Bodies, Body star Amanda Stenberg was trending on social media for an exchange she had with New York Times critic Lena Wilson. The film stars Stenberg and tells the story of a vapid group of Gen Z teens who get the fright of their lives. Wilson recently published a review about the new A24 feature saying, quote, "The only thing that really sets Bodies, Bodies, Bodies apart is where it doubles as a 95-minute advertisement for cleavage." Yikes. Wilson went on to criticize the movie's use of Twitter speak with words like toxic, narcissist, and gaslighting. Since there was no nudity in the film and it was Stenberg's character that wore a spaghetti string tank top and bra, the actress decided to address Wilson's criticism via DM.
I said, great review. Maybe if you had got your eyes off my tits, you could have watched the movie. All right, okay, listen. I thought it was hilarious.
Well, Wilson didn't think it was funny. She replied to Amanda giving her well wishes, then shared the screenshot of the DM and a now deleted tweet saying, "Do you think she Instagram DM'd Allison Wilmore, Justin Change, and Anthony Lane like this, or?" The three names mentioned are critics at Vulture, LA Times, and The New Yorker. Wilson went on to say, "Always weird when the homophobia is coming from inside the house, but this is something." She captioned another video saying, quote, "Unfathomably weird to get. I don't want you in the locker room while I'm changing bullying from a whole other lesbian." Here's the thing, posting screenshots of private DMs is very not cool in my book. Stenberg went on to explain about the years of endless sexualization she also gets from just being a woman.
I mean, it shouldn't be surprising, I guess, at this point, but the amount of commentary that I receive on my boobs is so extreme. And this has happened since I was a teenager.
She also said the outfit in question also fit her character.
I can tell you that I wore this tank top in this movie because me and the costume designer thought that it fit the character well.
Stenberg ended the video with this quid pro quo.
You are allowed to have your criticisms on my work, and I'm allowed to have my criticisms of your work. And that is A-okay with me. and I wish you the best.
Now, the exchange sparked several debates on Twitter about sexualizing women because of things that grow naturally from their bodies, as well as racism and who really has, quote, social power. That battle continues between whether actors have the right to respond to criticism of their projects and whether critics need to be more responsible with their reviews. It'll be interesting to see how this continues to unfold.
And now for some LGBTQ news you need to know. Some good news for LGBTQ fam in Singapore. Authorities have announced that the British colonial-era law against same-sex activity is being lifted.
The government will repeal Section 377A and decriminalize sex between men. I believe this is the right thing to do and something that most Singaporeans will now accept.
The ban had been upheld even though it hadn't been used in several years. Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong also had this to say about the effects.
This will bring the law into line with current social mores and I hope provide some relief to gay Singaporeans.
Sounds promising, but then Loong also quickly added this.
Even as we repeal 377A, we will uphold and safeguard the institution of marriage. Under the law, only marriages between one man and one woman are recognized in Singapore.
Gee, thanks, Mr. Prime Minister. Well, thankfully, there's been some opposition. 3 local activists said the ban was unenforceable and unconstitutional, and several challenges have been filed. Opponents believe that Singapore's authorities don't actually plan to prosecute anyone for having gay sex. Even the Attorney General said it wouldn't be in the public's interest, which is why doing away with the ban is a step in the right direction. But what's progress without a little opposition, right? Loong then went on to justify why the distinction was important.
Many national policies rely upon this definition of marriage, including public housing, education, adoption rules, advertising standards, film classification.
Too bad that essentially blocks LGBTQ Singaporeans from those services. Despite that, the repeal for the ban is still something to celebrate, and the fight for full inclusion is still ongoing. Another thing that is still ongoing are the effects of Florida's Don't Say Gay bill. At Grace Christian High School in Valrico, Florida, they're not only saying don't say gay, but also don't be gay. And if you are, we can kick you out. Administrator Barry McKean sent an email to parents doubling down on the school's position on LGBTQ students. One section in particular made sure to mention a student's biological gender, not a thing, and that in order to affirm that gender, no attempt should be made to, quote, physically change, alter, or disagree with one's biological gender. The note went on to give examples including not only elective sex reassignment, but also non-binary gender fluid acts of conduct, whatever that means. McKean then went on to list the scripture as backup, quoting Genesis 1:26-28. These scriptures say nothing about bestiality and incest, but McKean, of course, found a way to work it in. The rant listed the LGBT and the Q as well as self-identification, adultery, which we hear is a huge problem among students, and pornography. The school said that, quote, students who are found participating in these lifestyles would be asked to leave the school immediately. Sounds like a fun way to get a day off. Host of Queering the Law, Alejandra Caraballo, went to Twitter to share their experience with the school. Caraballo said, I went here for kindergarten. My mom pulled me out when they required her to use a paddle. Grace Christian School is a horrible place no one should send their children to. To date, at least one student has left the school. The teen's mother said, I'm not going to have her feel ashamed of herself for any reason.
But my daughter's well-being, right, and mental health is more important.
Amen to that. And speaking of negative effects from hateful legislation, some are seeing a wrinkle in Utah's anti-trans ban on sports that won't let trans girls participate in school sports. The ban was put into effect and then quickly vetoed by Utah Governor Spencer Cox. Then that ban was overturned by Utah legislator, but after multiple lawsuits, a judge has granted a temporary injunction removing the ban. To this point, Utah was only able to identify about 4 trans girls who were playing sports. However, local parents decided their definition of transgender was anyone who beat their kids, basically. David Spatafor is part of the Utah High School Activities Association and received complaints about the winner of an unnamed sports competition. Parents said the winner didn't look feminine enough and drew a complaint. Interestingly enough, the winner was a cisgender girl.
The school asked them to check their feeder schools to double check to see as far back as the records of that student would go if she was always a female. The school went back to kindergarten.
Author Aki Peretz called the move another tool for bullies with power. And this was something many LGBTQ activists saw coming. LGBTQ Nation reported that families of losing students would use the law to attack the winners, sometimes even subjecting them to invasive exams. Well, we hope the judge, Keith Kelly's injunction will become permanent and bring some peace to trans athletes and their families. And those are the LGBTQ news headlines you need to know.
Well, this week in the US, we're going back to school, and Revry has a bunch of great things to watch for the queer students in your life. Get your pom-poms ready because it's time for Showtime, a coming-of-age football story. The true story of the 2019 Parkway North Junior Vikings 8th grade team is inspiring and relatable. Despite their differences while learning life lessons through the game of football, the team has come together and become 3-time national champions. They joined together as one team, one vision, and one community. It's refreshing to see a sports film so positive and inclusive. Let's hope more teams take this lead. Penelope Cruz delivers an extraordinarily emotional performance in Mama, the newest film from acclaimed director Julio Medem. Honoring the high melodrama of Pedro Almodovar and Douglas Sirk, Mama follows Magda as she experiences tragedies and miracles alike. Just as Magda is diagnosed with breast cancer, she meets Arturo, a devoted husband and father in the midst of unspeakable loss. Their chance encounter leads both down a path of strength, grace, love, and rebirth. And last but not least, we have Gay Mean Girls, created by Heishi Zhang. Gay Mean Girls is a queer coming-of-age dramedy about how relationships shift as we redefine ourselves. New talent Vicky Lee plays a Lucy Ching, a prom committee member who may or may not be gay and is definitely crushing on her bestie, Miranda, played by Hannah Raine. She comes up with the idea of gay prom royalty, which starts as a way to woo Miranda, but may just be the thing that changes Lucy's life. This cute web series is funny, heartfelt, and the perfect film for back to school. For all this and so much more great queer content, we've got it right here, right now on Revry. And of course, we here at Culture Q are obsessed with Gay Mean Girls. The show is a breath of fresh air, and star Hannah Raine is a big part of why it works so well. And we actually got the delight to chat with Raine about the series and what makes it so unique.
I think there's a lot of heart in the series, and ultimately some very vulnerable themes that people are going to relate to, but it comes in this at times snarky package, right?
The girls can definitely be snarky, especially Lucy as she begins to find her voice and stick up for herself.
I'd like to formally propose gay prom royalty this year.
I just think it's about time we have 2 prom queens or kings.
Getting to play the character was a dream come true for Raine, and she came upon the chance of a lifetime in a pretty fun way.
Yeah, I just decided to shoot my shot at it. I found a post in a Facebook group that they were doing an open casting, and I was like, why not?
Lucy, we got gay prom. Can you tell me what the problem is?
I feel like I have to do gay to be gay.
I mean, we love a good social media casting. Raine's character Lucy is trying to figure herself out, but Miranda isn't as helpful as she thinks she is. Because Miranda can sometimes be, well, a gay mean girl.
She is, I would say, insecure is kind of the way I would most describe her, is that she I think often thinks she's working with the best intentions, but ultimately is driven by her own insecurities. There's a kind of misguided righteousness about her when you're a teenager and you're just so driven by what you think is right. I think being a hot-headed teenager and being speaking before you think, I think, is sort of how we would describe it.
And the touching moments of friendship and the stellar supporting cast are what takes the edge off of the mean in Gay Mean Girls.
It's mean, as the title suggests, but ultimately it's because Heishi, the creator, had this specific message she wanted to get across from her own experiences, and so there's a lot of vulnerability there.
Heishi Zhang is a queer director, and many of the cast and crew are queer, creating a relatable and inclusive environment.
I know that when casting the protagonists in my season for Gay Mean Girls, It was really important that Lucy, the main character, be played by a queer actress. I think one of the great things about working on the set was that so much of the crew and the cast and everybody was from the LGBTQ community. Just I hope people feel seen in the characters, whichever ones that they most relate to or identify with, and see that amongst the people that maybe intimidate you or make you feel insecure, they're probably feeling the same way, and that there is something you can relate to.
Again, be sure to check out Gay Mean Girls, airing right now on Revry.
As always, we leave you with some inspiration involving a celeb family who continues to show up for their child. In February of 2020, NBA star Dwayne Wade and his wife, actress Gabrielle Union, introduced the world to their daughter. No, not Kavya. She'd already been here since 2018. We mean Wade's eldest daughter, Zaya. Wade spoke about Zaya coming out to him and Gabrielle on Ellen in 2020 and his important role as a parent in her life.
Me and my wife Gabrielle Union, we are proud. When I say proud, we are proud parents of a child in the LGBTQ+ community, and we're proud allies as well. And we take our roles and our responsibility as parents very seriously.
And in heartfelt Instagram posts, both Dwayne and Gabrielle posted their congrats and support, and soon after, Zaya herself graced Instagram and began running things. Even though her account is officially moderated by her parents, Zaya's page is unapologetic and empowering. 3 years later, Wade has finalized Zaya's transition and is making it legally official. Last week, Wade filed court papers to change Zaya's name from her original given name to her chosen name. Wade's involvement was necessary because Zaya is only 15 and is unable to change her name and gender marker, which is when Dad stepped up for his daughter. I just adore this family.
I honestly wish they could adopt me, why not?
All right. Well, with that, that's all for This Week in Culture Q. I'm Shira Lazar.
And it's Anna Lawani signing off. Be sure to join us every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, live and always on demand, right here on Revry.